from wanting to come back and connect in this new space and really dive deep on that. Yes, it's the logistics and it's saving money and everything that Craig's eloquently spoken about, but again, getting down to real base level, people do not want to be seen to be failing at things. So we're going to fall back to the old school, the things that we've always known. But that's not working in this environment. So it's time to throw out the rule book and it's time to lean into that sense of vulnerability.
So to talk on how we respond to change, please welcome both Tanya and Jessica and myself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. How are we going this evening? Warren was amazing. I hope you're all starting to think of the stories you've got to tell as well. And both Craig and Tanya have incredible stories with their rich experience and professional experience. For those of you who don't know, Craig himself is the CEO of Speakers Institute Corporate, but with decades of global experience running organisations and teams around the globe, but also a high performer himself, being a world champion multiple times. So he knows what he's talking about. And Tanya is a hypnotherapist and working with executives around Australia as well, coaching them one-on-one through some of these massive changes that they've been through and being that support for those who are then actually working with the organisations. So I get an opportunity now to ask them a few questions about culture and what they're seeing and experiencing in that particular area. But if anything comes to mind as we're chatting, please put your hand up and ask them. We want to make sure it's of value for you coming here this evening with your time. So I like to start, Craig, with what actually is culture? What does that mean to you, that word?
It's a great question to kick it off. And, you know, for me, culture is around the behaviours, the beliefs, the actions that we take. It's, and I suppose people hate to hear this, right? It's the way we do things around here. But it is. It is how you work together. It is what is our way of working with each other. It's our way of working with other people, and it's the way we create that sense of belonging.
And I guess, Tanya, that way of working has very much shifted.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't need to tell you that things have changed completely in the way we work. But I have to say, there's a different perspective to it. It's not just the physical proximity that we've got to each other. It's the complete mindset. Clearly, that's the area I work in. It's the mindset shift that everybody's had to have as well. Yes, people are looking for more of that balance in their lives, but the biggest complexity I've got right now with the executives that sit in my lovely chair is not just their own personal mindset challenges, but it's also how am I engaging the team to get them back in and genuinely connecting with each other now that they've found their new comfort zone. And let's face it, we're all quite comfortable in our tracksuit pants and Ugg boots under the desk. But at this point, as you said before, Craig, we do need to come back to that balance, that threefold balance there of the human connection, the business side of it. It needs to be incredibly more business-centric, but also your clients. At the end of the day, we're there for the clients, right? The employees have got the jobs because of the clients. Now, that's not to say that we can't have a very human and connected approach to where we're moving with this shift, but we all have to take a very different approach to what are the must-haves in this change. Not the nice-to-haves. It's nice to be all back in the office and getting together again, but what are the must-haves that we need in this new environment?
And I think that speaks to, in terms of culture, collaboration and the conversations that are happening now. What sort of conversations are you hearing within the Fortune 500 companies around culture and the things they might be struggling with and solutions that they're looking for?
Yeah, I think there's some differences that are happening, and some of you will see this. You know, for those that have been in the organisation a long time, being in teams, it's easy for them to kind of hold that culture together. But what happens for those that are new? Maybe those new graduates out of university who have spent the last 2 years of their first 2 years of their working life still living at home with mum and dad. They don't have any social experience. The actual social connections online are quite limited because team meetings have been reduced to 30 minutes. There's not that many social opportunities online. And you know what? People have actually forgotten that it's okay to pick up a phone and ring Andrea and say, "Hi, Andrea, how are you going?" without having to send her an email or text message and book into her schedule. We have to schedule now to even go and visit the neighbor. What happened to us? We've forgotten the simple thing that it's okay to actually ad hoc make a call, drop in, say hello to someone online, and have a conversation. We have forgotten about that. It's still there, but I think it's important to bring that back. So that's the big thing. Obviously, people have realised that they don't want to go back into the office. They don't like the commutes, etc., which are fairly normal. But when they try and bring them in for that cultural connection, people are so hesitant. They're just quite happy being at home. Like a lot of them are quite enjoying that space to themselves and not having to worry about someone else's problems that they hear at the water cooler.
It's an introvert's dream, right?
So they're seeing that aspect, but for some that are very old companies where there's a well-established, this is the way we've always done things, bureaucracy, very tight boundaries, they've found it really difficult to let go even though they had to, but now they're in this state of like, do we just let go of everything and let culture go where it needs to go, or do we need some boundaries to it? So that flexible boundaries that we talked about before, how important is that going to be? And I think if you want to head in a direction, you've still got to lead those boundaries and know when to call out on certain things. But make sure it actually means something. Why are you calling them out? Is it just because it's in the rules or because of something that's written? Or can you actually ensure that it's something like maybe on inclusive language? Calling out something that's actually important for the sense of belonging and so we don't exclude people from the organisation. I think that's probably the bigger things that are coming through.
And then, Tanya, for executives who are trying to almost create and design this next culture in a way, the fact that there is no role model and that they're not really sure what's happening next. If we all had a crystal ball, it would be amazing, but it doesn't exist. And therefore, everyone's making it up at the same time, in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
How is that being managed?
I think what an amazing opportunity. I mean, I'm gonna very badly quote Brené Brown right now, but in that place of vulnerability lies innovation. And if you're willing to lean into that space of vulnerability and create a safe place for people to fail fast, what a great time to actually really listen and allow people to truly be heard in the organisation and have a part in making that new evolved culture. I mean, I don't know about you, but I get kind of annoyed if I'm not heard. So do my kids. But at the same time, so if you actually think, if you step back a moment and say, what is it that is really holding back not just my employees, but even my leadership team from wanting to come back and connect in this new space and really dive deep on that? Yes, it's the logistics and it's saving money and everything that Craig's eloquently spoken about. But again, getting down to real base level, people do not want to be seen to be failing at things. So we're going to fall back to the old school, the things that we've always known. But that's not working in this environment. So it's time to throw out the rule book and it's time to lean into that sense of vulnerability.
Very good.
Got someone at the back. Craig, in terms of that, if even at the executive level, the CEO level, what impact does it have in terms of what they're role modelling and yet what they're expecting of the others within the organisation and that as a culture sort of maybe difference there? What are you seeing or hearing in that area?
Yeah, I mean, you think about your kids. Your kids will role model your behaviour. They will follow what you do, and adults are no different. And I think it's important as leaders that we ensure that if we're going to be creating a culture of something, that we're expecting something of our people, that we are the first ones to role model it. We don't ask someone else to do it. We don't just write the new culture and say it once and walk away. That we embed it into everything that we say, we write, our conversations, our connections, our behaviours, every single day. It's so, so important that we role model that. If you want to create something that can.
But what about when there's resistance from those executives? Because in some of the work we get to do with Speakers Institute Corporate, we are helping people to up-level their communication skills online across different organisations and geographics. And we let them know you need to turn the camera on, you need to look good, you need to present yourself well. Then the executives come in and introduce themselves, cameras all over the place, it's not on. So it's then how do the messaging they're getting there compared to what they're asking of their employees, that's a real disconnect. Yeah, how do we, I guess, help the executives to start to see that that's actually the impact that they're having? Because I imagine the L&D people in the room, you know what needs to be done and you want to role model it yourself, and sometimes the resistance is at that executive level. Yeah.
I think you just take the security card, grab their laptop and ask security to take them to the door, right? Look, it is a challenge because people are so used to doing something, and I think we've got to have those conversations first and be open with them and say, look, you've agreed to this. This is what we're doing as a group, as a team. We've got to take it forward, but you've got to call it out. We have to be open and transparent. We can't just walk past it and let it go. And we see it all the time. We have one company who keeps asking us to embed the behavior for them. And we're like, it's not going to work. It has to start from the CEO. The CEO then has to work with his team and it has to then filter down. When it comes to cultural change, it has to start from the top. It cannot start from the bottom. It will only go so far, and then the resistance will be too high, and it will pitter back out, and people will walk away. It has to be led from the top.
I totally agree. I mean, and don't assume that you know why the leadership team aren't showing up. Lean in and ask them absolutely genuine, honest conversations about what's really going on, because you probably actually haven't quite nailed it.